Turkish Airlines flies to the most number of countries in the world, and today I'm excited to fly them on one of their relatively new routes. My trip on the Turkish Airlines Airbus A350 takes me from Melbourne to Singapore. Join me on this 8-hour trip, where the excitement at takeoff didn't quite last until landing. Welcome back to Melbourne Airport, where today I'm ready to embark on a new airline for me. Turkish Airlines recently started flying to Melbourne via Singapore and currently offer 3 flights a week. The flight leaves Melbourne at 10:30 p.m. and arrives at the rather awkward 3 a.m. in Singapore. The check-in experience wasn't so great, as I had to spend some time explaining to the staff the airline's own battery policy. The staff insisted that no battery-powered items, even a calculator or a watch, can be checked in, which is clearly not true. I tried explaining the difference between loose batteries and fitted ones, but eventually I gave up and made my way to the departure area. Since Turkish Airlines is part of the Star Alliance, it gives me a couple of options in terms of lounge access. Unfortunately for me, the SQ lounge was closed a bit early on the day, which meant my only option was the Air New Zealand one. This is not a bad option at all. In fact, I would say it's one of the best lounges at Melbourne Airport, and it's quite big as it caters to several Onboard carriers operating out of Melbourne. There's a good variety in the seating options, and these pods towards the end felt quite private. Despite being in the lounge dungeon, it still has some window views to offer. There was a decent dinner buffet, but I skipped over this to save space for the Turkish dining experience. If you ever need to use them, the shower facilities in here are quite spacious and impressive. Soon it was time to board, and I made the long walk to Gate 18, where I caught my first glimpse of our aircraft for the day. Turkish Airlines has almost 400 aircraft in their fleet, including 30 Airbus A350-900, which is what we have here today. This one is just 3 years old and has their standard layout consisting of 329 seats, with 32 in business class in a staggered 1-to-1 layout.
Hello. This first row. Thank you.
On first look, the seats look very familiar, and this is because it is the exact same seat that Singapore Airlines uses on their regional configured aircraft. There were some subtle differences in the seat. It was quite thoughtful of Turkish to include a locking mechanism in the side compartment. Moving on to the soft product, we had a pillow, a blanket, and a pair of noise-cancelling headphones. An amenity kit was offered a bit later. The SQ feel of the seat did not unfortunately extend to the level of service on board. Most of the service felt quite rushed and generic throughout the flight. The most premium part of the service was having a chef on board, who handed out the meal menus and later took down the orders.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board this Turkish Airlines flight.
Today our ticket flight number is 169 to Singapore to Istanbul, 400, approximately 40,000 feet. Because we are approaching Singapore again. Nice talking to you.
The flight time to Singapore was about 7 hours, and let's start with a tour of the onboard loo. It was quite a standard offering, with 1.5 mirrors for some reason, and I can confirm that the amenities missing here were stocked up later in the flight. The coolest aspect of the toilet was having a foot pedal for the bin. I wish more airlines offered this as a standard. As I went back to my seat, it was time for dinner, so I'm going to pretend like I'm looking at the menu again. Honestly, I must say that this menu card looked and felt very premium. Turkish seems to offer dine-on-demand, which is a nice feature to have, but something I didn't take advantage of in this flight. In terms of mains, there were 3 options provided: fish, beef, and plant-based. Surprisingly though, there was only one choice for both the starter and the dessert. The dinner service started with some packaged nuts and a choice of a drink. While I waited for the main service, I checked out the in-flight entertainment unit. It was very smooth and easy to use. There was an extensive selection of movies to choose from, and for the Afghis like me, 3 flight cameras. The noise-cancelling headphones provided were pretty good quality too. Wi-Fi is available on board the A350, and in business class you get 1 GB of data and unlimited messaging. Back to the meal service, the starter was brought out first, which in this case was the Turkish meze. While the assortment of dips was really good, the choice of bread was rather interesting. Then it was time for the mains. I had selected the sea bass, which looked good, but was rather a small portion for a typical business class meal. What it lacked in quantity, it almost certainly made up for in quality, as it tasted pretty good. The meal tray came with 2 pieces of cheese and a hazelnut cake, which formed the dessert for this service. Overall, I would say the meal service was good without being amazing. Oh, and before I forget, here's a look at the comprehensive drinks menu that was provided. Prior to bedtime, I took a look at the amenity kit. The bag from Landwind was really nice, and in fact it has become my go-to cables bag for my future travels. The contents though were pretty standard and possibly minimalistic. With about 5 hours still left on this flight, it was time to turn the seat into a live flatbed. This is what the seat looks like when it's in full sleep mode. It was reasonably comfortable for a flight of this length, but as you can see, the space to put your legs is a bit tight. I had a few good hours of sleep and only woke up with 40 minutes to go for landing. This also meant that I missed out on the pre-landing meal. These would have been the choices if I was awake for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain speaking. We're commencing descent for Singapore changing international. Expect landing some local time, 3:43 a.m. in the early morning. Less weather for sky part cloudy, temperature 28 degrees Celsius. Nice and thank you.
As we descended into Singapore, it was clear how my excitement at the start had slowly faded away. Turkish Airlines delivers a solid hard product. The A350 seat is comfortable for an overnight flight. The in-flight entertainment is excellent, and the amenity kit is a nice touch. But where things fell short was on the soft product. The food was rather minimalistic compared to what other airlines offer, and the service felt rushed and impersonal. Overall, while Turkish seems like a reasonable option to get to Singapore, I'm not convinced it's enough to win over frequent flyers on this very busy route, especially with such an awkward landing time in Singapore.
Ladies and gentlemen, and dear children, we hope that you had a pleasant flight. Thank you for flying with Turkish Airlines, a member of Star Alliance.